Hey everyone and welcome to another video, and today I'm doing something a little different. I really wanted to try and get across the importance of having great quality micro, especially as you're climbing through mid to high plat and reaching into diamond, and especially if you're going from diamond onwards, as well as figuring out a way to really get across the importance of the small wins mentality or the small wins mindset. So what I've gone ahead and done is actually show you guys a recording of one of my recent coaching sessions of a Platinum 1 Victor player. I believe he's in NA off the top of my mind, and he's playing Victor versus Oriana, and it's a great coaching session because we really get into the details. We get into the specifics about why he is hitting skill shots, or why he is taking some pretty poor trades, why some things are working and aren't working, and we're really able to identify why some games he's able to play at like a really high diamond level, and other games he's playing like a plat 4 or a gold 1 level. And I complement this with a second piece of content in this video, which is the second half of it, which is a personal review I've done of one of my own recent VODs, where I really highlight the importance of having good quality micro and what it actually means specifically for the laning phase, as well as the small wins mindset as well. So let's go ahead and dive straight in, and let me know if you want to see more pieces of content like this one. Cheers.
I wanted to share it because I think it's just an interesting VOD to share, in my opinion. I think that if I were to address the problems and the reasons why I underperformed in this VOD, it would elevate my gameplay a lot. At least that's what I think. I might be wrong, and I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. But for a little bit of context, the things that I'm looking for is similar to last time, just improving the lowest performance kind of games. So, like, yesterday I had a game where, like, I got like a pentakill, 9.5 CS per minute and all that, and then the next game I get a game, or the next day I get a game like this, where it's like, I think 5.5 or 6.5 CS per minute, and I die like 5 times or something. So I want to shorten the gap a little bit on the lower end of the games, and also things like habits and instincts that are harmful, maintaining small wins mentality, and things like forming lane hypothesis on how I played a lane and mid to late game. So, like, these are the things that I'm looking for.
Have you been watching my reviews on the Midland Academy?
You mean VODs of other people?
Yeah.
I haven't watched every one of them, but I watched as many as time feasibly allowed.
Brilliant.
I learned quite a bit from them as well. So yeah, that's another reason why I haven't done my own VOD yet, just because like the database of those is getting pretty rich.
Yeah, it is. It's getting pretty insane now, which is awesome. I love that you say that, by the way, in terms of you want to increase your lower end. And I just want to spend a little bit, as a quick minute or two, for those of you who haven't heard me explain this concept. I just think this is one of the most important concepts to understand if you're climbing a solo queue. What you're experiencing, right, and you probably know about this, and you probably see me on the article I wrote about on the Midland Academy, is, let's just say this is likelihood or probability. Let's just call this probability. And then we have, and this is our performance, right, on the x-axis. Okay, and let's just say right now you're at plat what?
Plat 1.
Plat 1. Okay, so let's say roughly right now you're in the middle. You're at plat 1. Now, generally, most people's level of play or their performance looks like this. It's like a bell curve, right? With the middle, or the most common, at your current level of play, if you've played enough games anyway. So basically this means that, the majority of games you're going to be playing at a plat 1 level. Some games you might play at a, D3 level. You might have those games. Conversely, you're going to have those games where you're still playing at like a plat 3 or even sometimes even a plat 4 level. Now, when it comes to improvement, the sexy thing is, it's like, oh, what are all these new things, new concepts that I need to learn in order to play it at a D3, at a D2 level? Because some games you are playing here, but it's not consistent enough, right? Because there's all these like new concepts that you need to learn. But the problem is, most people most players, they fall into the trap of learning all of these new concepts on the right hand side in order to increase the probability or the level they can perform at. Because if you were to learn new concepts, right, you might push this further and further, and these numbers, rather than being like a D3, you might even play some games to a D1 level. And you're like, wow, like I played that game exceptionally. But it's just super inconsistent. But if you only do this, you only focus on learning the new concepts rather than bringing up your lowest lows, this is where Mental Boom City comes into play. Because you're going to have this one game, like THT just said, you're popping off, you're getting pentakills, you're killing it at D1, but then you're like, holy shit, you have this game where you just went 0-5, you died all these ganks, you're farming 5 sets per minute, and you played terribly. You're like, holy shit, this was gold level stuff, this was terrible. And then you're thinking to yourself, how is this possible? Like, what the hell? How can this even be possible? Then you start to get frustrated with yourself, you start to get in your head, you start to sometimes gain an ego, but then you lose your confidence, and your learning or your entire league journey just becomes incredibly miserable. So what we need to do, and what actually happens, by the way, if we were to only focus, if we were to only focus on learning new concepts, what actually happens is that the bell curve starts to look like this. It starts to get like, it might drag out, and then like it might be like more longer. And yes, your average might be over here, but we still have all of this bullshit on this side of the bell curve, all of this low-level play. So we need to drag our left-hand side of the bell curve further up. We can't just extend the right-hand side. We need to drag the left-hand side further up so we can actually remove this. So we're not going to, maybe at max, at worst, on our worst games, we're still only going to be playing a Plat 1 level. For me, for example, my bell curve, I'm never going to be playing, even when I autopilot, my default autopilot is still at like probably a master tier 200 LP level. Like, even if I'm just literally half asleep playing, it's at a 200 LP level, because I've made all of my muscle memory and my fundamentals so good that I can't do this. So what THT, what I'm assuming that what we're going to see in this VOD is that there are some underlying fundamentals that we need to refine so that we don't have this anymore. We don't have these really shocking performances anymore.
That's spot on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's great. Let's see what we can see here. So in my experience, this is a matchup where you do want to be playing relatively fast and aggressive, by the way. I don't like secondary domination in this matchup. I like going time warp. I like going fast. I like going corrupted, go. And the reason this is the case is because if Orianna plays it fast and you have this setup, you actually can't adapt. Orianna, in theory, or if it's played at the highest level, Orianna's going to be walking up level 1, getting a high value Q through the wave, auto-attacking the wave down because she has better auto-attacks than you, and looking to heavy trade. And because she actually has more reliable damage than you and longer range, because you only have the E, whereas she has the Q and the W, which is shorter cooldown comparatively to your E, you get tethered, you get poked, and she plays the faster lane much better than you. If she plays defensively and she doesn't do that, then sure, it's completely fine. But it can get messy if you start to play this higher up. It won't be optimal for you. Which makes
That's actually very interesting. Sorry, I was gonna say that like I wanted to like talk about this, and like one of my concerns was that, I was gonna ask you like, would this work against a higher level player? Because my feeling in the back of my head was that, like better players would probably, as you said, play this aggressively and trade. But when I was forming my hypothesis on how to play this, I wanted to play a longer lane because they have like Tryndamere, Udyr, and Phase Rush is really good against those. And I wanted to play a little bit more for the team fights. Like normally I would take something like a Comet, because I don't know if I can walk up to Orianna and trigger Electrocute. So like again, ideally it would be a Comet and something faster like a Corrupting Pod, but like that's where I got confused. Like that's why I said lane hypothesis / the game hypothesis, because Phase Rush is better for the overall game. But Comet would be better in lane.
Well, I think you do a
Um,
combination, man. I think phase rush is completely fine. Phase rush is
Interesting.
great. I think phase rush is a great point, but then you mix it up. You kind of do a bit. You do a bit of both, and you go phase rush, but with time warp tonic and biscuits or something like that, and corrupting pot. You could do a combination. I think phase rush is spot on. You need phase rush versus Tryndamere and Udyr, but you also kind of need access to more resources if this guy chooses to play faster. Which is interesting, by the way, TST, because what I've noticed, and you've probably heard me say this in a lot of the Platinum sessions, but Platinum is all about matchup refinement. You've heard me talk about this, right?
Um, Not directly, but I
Okay.
think I get the notion.
Or like, again, another concept I was quickly explain this is that Platinum is all about, okay, this is what I've noticed anyway. This is my new finding. Platinum players, it's like two bricks here with like what do you call it, like the cement in the middle, whatever, the mortar. So we have Platinum players have great champ identity understanding. They know what their champion wants to do. They also usually have pretty good fundamentals, you know? They know how to ward, lean, basic jungle tracking. They understand wave management, all this stuff. But in the middle, the thing that they're missing, which usually leads to poor quality hypotheses, is the matchup understanding. Their matchup understanding is usually very base level. So a lot of my learning objectives for a bunch of Platinum players is for them to actually create a matchup spreadsheet and really get specific about how you want to play the matchups. Now, again, it has to be in the context of the matchups that you are playing. So, for example, you're not going to play Victor versus Orianna versus a challenger Orianna that knows exactly how to play the matchup, right? You're not. That's why, watching Dopa play this matchup, it's going to look completely different, which is fine. So it's got to be contextual to what the Oriannas are doing at your rank. That's why I always recommend having your own hypotheses first, based off of what you're experiencing. Then look in YouTube and go like, okay, Victor versus Orianna, and see how other people play the matchup at differing ranks. But then you'll start to realize, okay, interesting. This felt good. This didn't feel good, but I feel like maybe if I played a little bit faster, it would be good. But I don't think I need to play that fast because, the Oriannas I'm versing aren't that. They're just not playing like that. They're not auto attacking the wave like that. They're not tethering this effectively. They're not dodging my E's. So you can create your own little way of versing a matchup. But you're at the process right now where you're at the rank, where your understanding of matchups is this again going to be very baseline, and we got to start to refine our hypotheses and start to get specific about how we can continue to dominate the same matchup again and again and again. So that's why matchup spreadsheets are so important, I would say, for this rank specifically. And it's not the matchup spreadsheet. The intention isn't, look, people tunnel in on the note-taking element where it's like, oh yeah, I can refer back to the notes and know exactly what to do. Yes, that is one part of it. But the main part of it that I like, it's the process of getting into that level of review where it's like, okay, I'm in the post-game review. Now I'm literally taking specific notes about how the matchup played out. So while you're doing that, you're actually ingraining this into your memory. You're literally, like, you're getting into that level of thought. That is the most important thing to me. So the matchup spreadsheet kind of forces you to think like that. It forces you to think in a certain way.
That's interesting. I think I found this exact problem that in many matchups I don't actually know how they're played out, and I think this spreadsheet and especially getting into your memory is a way to accelerate learning them. Yeah, I think that the problem I found is that sometimes even the matchups I played before, they kind of like gotten out of my head. Like I played Zed against Yon, and I played it before. I know that you can Q him when he Q3s into you, but like, at some point I played a game again and I forgot it just because it hasn't been ingrained into my brain. Like I feel like it helps you like the learning to actually stick. I think it's
Also,
something I will be doing moving forward.
and also the interesting thing, man, is that you're not at a level yet where you're going to know every single intricacy of every single matchup. You just haven't played enough of your champion at a high enough level to really get into that. But it's just like starting that process. But the main thing I found as well, the other main thing I found with doing those matchup spreadsheets, is that you're going to start to be able to compartmentalize. the way you play versus Kiana is going to be similar to the way you play versus Zed, is going to be similar to the way you play versus, like, say, like a Diana or whatever it is. You'll see trends. So even if you hadn't versed a champion very often before, at least because you've gone through this process in some other matchups, you can have a pretty solid hypothesis. You have a starting point at least. And there's some fundamentals maybe that you learnt in that matchup that can maybe be applied. So that's the other thing as well.
Yeah, I think I can see the point. It's like, like melee assassins like have a lot of commonalities, but then, like Q3 for Yone has a specific interaction.
Yeah. That's right.
There was another thing that I was curious about. Can you go to like 1 minute in the video? Like actually just like 1 minute or like 55 seconds.
Oh, you mean in the actual video? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be like here. Yeah, see like this E? Like I felt like it's actually a pretty big problem, not just because of like, missing an E in the lane. It's more about the mentality, because I can fairly reliably tell that this is an extremely low probability E to hit, but for some reason I felt really compelled to use my E here. And there have been a few moments in this game where you'll find where I do something that probably won't work. And what is even worse is, I was trying to see what makes the game so overwhelming, and like makes it feel like I'm like sitting here sweating, trying to like figure something out. And like part of the thing that takes away my attention is this, like trying to figure out how to hit a laser like this that will never hit.
Okay, so this is interesting. I want you to take a step back. Ready?
Yeah.
So I know why you went for this laser.
Was it a CS?
No, look at this.
Like her CS?
Okay, look at Oriana's pathing right now, right? I'm gonna break it down for you. Instincts, right? You went for that E instinctually, but instincts always, or it's like in real life, instincts play a role. They have a purpose. Right? They're doing things, or they're reacting things that you may not even be conscious about. Now look at Oriana's pathing right now. You're not looking for an E because look at how she's walking back here. The distance is too far. Right? You can't go for this E. Now she's going back. You're not even looking for it now. But then look what Oriana does. Ready? See how she walked up like that?
Yeah.
So she actually closed the gap. Now your brain recognized, oh shit, she's actually close. So yes, in theory, this would be, on paper, if you're thinking about, okay, probably not the best E. But in reality, she messed up. She didn't tether properly. You're posturing aggressively enough, and you're making her kind of make a choice between the minion and you in a way, but it's not kind of timed with the last hit. But because she walked up too early, or she closed, this gap is way too close. You can land this E anyway. It doesn't matter. So your instincts was actually correct in this situation. Funnily enough.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought that this E had no chance to hit, but then when I think about some games where I play better, I feel like I would wait for the next wave to come in and then hit that E through the wave, push the wave, and keep shoving. Because the problem is that like I kind of missed this E, and then I stopped shoving the wave, so the wave stayed on her side of the map. So like it's kind of like I forgot what I'm doing. I forgot my hypothesis, because in this case I wanted to shove. Like you can see I'm already getting a shove, and like that's the problem that I'm trying to address. Like I kind of forgot about like what I was intending to do, and I went back to like the default of I gotta chunk her, I gotta poke her, I gotta deal damage.
Look, I think even if you were to E this, it's still going to be completely fine. My main issue actually is that you shove this first wave too fast.
Interesting.
So I actually wrote an article yesterday that you should read about understanding how to play the first 4 waves. Okay. Now, generally, when you're playing a matchup like this, your 2 strategies of 1 or 2 things. Okay. And I talk about this in the thing. Option 2 in the article is slow build the first two waves, crash it onto tower, and allow the third wave to bounce out. Okay? Option 3 is where you want to slow build the first two waves, crash it under tower, then continue to harass and shove the third wave under tower as well, then let the fourth wave bounce out. Now, the benefit of option 3 is that you're still going to have prior for the scuttle. Option 2, a lot of the time, you're not going to have prior for the scuttle. Now, the key, though, is that you don't push the first wave so fast that it crashes under tower before the second wave comes, but you don't want to crash you don't want to slow build the first two waves too slow, because the third wave comes out before it crashes under tower, and then it gets stuck on that side. So what you've done here is that you've actually shoved the first wave too fast, and look how deep it crashes in the lane. This makes it much harder for you because it's hard for you to auto attack these creeps. If this first wave kind of crashed out here a little bit, then you would have access to these casters, and it would actually be a little bit easier for you to CS all of them. And then, so yeah, that's something you got to be a little bit careful of. But I would say that you're right. Going for those E's, like even like the E that you did here, is a little bit sketchy. And also notice how it's hard for you to get the second wave in under tower before the third wave crashes, because the tower is actually hitting the creeps as well. Your minions are dying to here, and what this actually does is that it actually it reduces the speed in which you're going to be able to kill the second wave, because less minions are alive. So if this wave were out here, your melees would have been longer for an extended period of time, which would have allowed you to kill these minions faster, which would have guaranteed that it crashes before the third wave comes. And it doesn't. The second wave doesn't crash before the third wave comes, and then it's kind of stuck in this awkward place, which, look, it's not the end of the world, but it does make things a little bit more awkward, and it reduces your chances of getting good quality poke.
That's very interesting. Yeah, like that's the problem that I found, that it got stuck here, and I knew what the problem was, but I think I didn't look at the solution correctly. I think I tried pushing waves in several different ways, and I had cases where I had the opposite. I built too slowly, and I was trying the other way. Like, I guess I was like looking, hey, like what if I push it really hard? But I think in my review, I didn't even notice that the melee creeps died to the tower, and then I didn't have enough power to push. So, like, I think this makes a lot of sense. It's interesting I didn't notice this.
The other thing as well here, man, is look at this. Look at where you started this E.
Oh, actually, about the start of the E, I think the reason why I started there is because I wanted to hit both the creep and Oriana. So that's why I said earlier that it was a problem and it was never going to hit, because in my mind, I was running that
this
E.
one.
Yes, I was running that E from the creep to Oriana in my mind. That's why I said it's something that was never going to happen.
Right.
I did it still hit? No, it didn't. It couldn't have hit the creep. So I guess I didn't hit the creep and I didn't start on the edge.
Look, my concern is that I'm going to look out for this in your other E's to see if this is a habit. But if this is a common occurrence, then I would suggest that you go back to do that. The drill. The drill, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on here. That's a nice, good high value E. Beautiful. Beautiful. Good trades.
Yeah, I think I could have faded there a little bit better to avoid the ball, but...
Just missed that one. Udyr shows bot side, so we can just lean to top side. We're all good here. Yeah, so here we made our movements a little bit too linear, and I feel like if we wanted to CS this one without faking, then we actually had to do it from further back here. Like, we're actually a little bit too close to this one, and it made it too easy for Oriana to kind of time her QW with the auto attack there, so we take a lot of damage there.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I was standing so close.
And we're not timing our E good enough here.
With CS. Yeah, that's the thing that I was gonna say again, like, or as well, that because of being so hyper focused on just dealing damage, I forget that, like, I gotta actually time it with the CF. I just want to hit it like
Mm,
at all points of the lane. So basically, the problem is that like every second I'm thinking, how am I gonna hit the, how am I gonna hit the, instead of, like HP of the minions, jungle tracking, and anything else. There's like nothing else left in my brain in terms of resources.
right. Okay. But that's, I mean, it's good that you identify. At the end of the day, I mean, look, at the end of the day, when it comes to this sort of thing, it's just a process. You're aware of it. It just takes time.
Yeah, that is again spot on, exactly what I think.
I wouldn't overcomplicate that one. I mean, you've made such massive improvement in such a short period of time. I mean, you can't expect to go from like what were you when you started like with this
Uh,
coaching stuff like
this coaching stuff, well, I started let's say in Plat 4.
right.
Yeah,
So
so
you've made insane
it's been quite a
improvement in such a short period of time. So like you're doing really well.
yeah.
We just got to not overwhelm. Now
Yeah,
I
at least
sorry, go on.
what I was going to say, at least like, last time we did a VOD review, we talked about how I overcomplicated things inside the game. I got a lot better at that. So, at least I leave those kind of things for the review, and I think it
Yeah,
helps a lot.
that's great. Yeah, you got to leave it for the review. I think that here though, it's not worth trading kills in a way. So here you get the flash, brilliant. This does require a lot of discipline, but at the end of the day, it's just not worth trading flash. Like because you get the flash, it's a small win. You get
Yeah,
nothing for
yeah.
trading kills here.
That's again that same theme of small win mentality. I almost think that the reason why I went for it is because Thresh's hook was so great. It was so
Mm,
insane. Like, we can't just not get the kill for that.
right.
And like that, and in general, the way I felt throughout this game, you'll see that I made like just like plays that made no sense. Like I wasn't supposed to go in.
Yeah. Okay, we come back. We get the pink. We know Udo's on that bot side. We want to
I think
deny.
Oriana still stayed as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can deny a lot of CS here, which is great. Here comes the Udia.
Where that phase rush comes in.
Should probably be leaning onto bot side here, so Udia doesn't regank. There's brands.
Yeah, that's. If there's like two people on either side, I guess I just respect and go back.
Yeah, you got to be quite careful here. I mean, you probably I don't know how you knew that Udia wouldn't come back, but worked out. Here as well. It's hard to say, but a part of me thinks that maybe letting this wave come back out might be. Nah, maybe not. Because you're running yourself very rude. We're probably going to have to go for another reset soon here as well.
Yeah, see, that's the interesting thing. You'll see that I'm going for a reset right now, and my intention was to go for reset, but then I realized, oh damn, this is not a cannon wave, and I saw that I have enough mana for 2 E's, and that's generally enough to shove the wave out, except maybe not at level 4. But like I go for a reset after this instead.
Yep, I think that's fine. Great.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a lot better at just like knowing when the cannon
Mm.
wave arrives on the back in the back of my head.
Mm.
Like sometimes I miss it, like it happens, but like I generally know like, oh, next wave's cannon.
Yeah, how interesting is it? Like, once you think about it enough in your review, it becomes intuitive, right? You're like, okay, every third wave, like, okay, there wasn't a cannon on that wave or that wave, so it has to be one now. Like, you just know. Like, you just know in the back of your mind.
Exactly. And like as you said, it's something that just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, it just takes time. Beautiful. Well, we're still in a pretty good spot right now. We've got a tier 1 boots on top of this guy, which is great. Nice little E there. Drive-by gank from the Kane. Thank you very much. Probably put your W down. Beautiful. I think Kane can get that kill. Or maybe not. I think here you could have placed your W earlier and you actually might have got the kill. Because while she was slowed a little bit here, I think you could have... See if you W there.
Oh, like put it on top of her?
Yeah, in a way. So what you do is like here, you kind of put it like... Kind of like there in a way or something like that. Where she's like stuck in it. But you kind of put it a little bit
Interesting.
too far there. But I think if you did it with the slow, she probably would have died. But that's just nitpicking, not too bad.
I think I was just like really surprised she escaped. Like the reason why I put my W there is because in my mind, like I thought she's dead for sure if she
Yeah.
can go back to the tower, but phase rush.
I'm so happy that you hold the wave here. This is exceptional. Great stuff.
Yeah, I've been working on wave management as well, and like trying to like identify as much as possible ways to deny the CS,
Yeah.
be it shoving or holding.
This is really good stuff. I think it's better just to hold that one a little bit. Time it with the CS.
Yeah, like it's the common theme of this game. Like there's no reason to use it then.
Mm. Look, that's not. This one's not too bad if you were to use it there because here she kind of walks up. But I still feel like here as well, you want to be trying to bait out the Q in a way. Like your movement's too linear. It's okay if you don't get the E off here. I mean, you can either E because she disrespects, but I think she's too far now. But you kind of bait out the Q and then you like come back and then you can do it. You don't need to just get it in the one hit.
Yeah.
Because then when you
And
E,
like
she has the shield and it's not that valuable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, see that this was not a great death, and like my biggest problem, like you see this queue right here, like I don't really know why was I so compelled to like walk into her face and queue. Like I know I'm gonna get QW, I'm gonna get slowed, so I can't even walk to her if she decides to tether. And then if I want to deal damage, she has a shield. Like it doesn't feel like a game knowledge problem, but I felt so compelled to just go and press Q on her. And like it doesn't happen on days where like I'm not like there's not as much mental fatigue, I guess, or like just fatigue from playing too many games.
Okay,
So
look,
like
this is the way the way I view it. I think it's as simple as you're not super. You don't really know the trading patterns. That's it. Like you don't know the matchup well enough for you to be able to be decisive on what to do. Like
yeah,
that's it. That's literally it. So the way this matchup works is this: Orianna outranges you, right? If she doesn't tether correctly and you are able to start the fight with Q before she gets her Q off, or at the same time, it's completely fine because you mitigate that damage and it's fine. And then a lot of the time she won't have the ball on her and you land the E when she doesn't have ball onto her. You get that poke off when she has less resistances. It works out well. But if the Orianna is good and she knows how to tether, yeah, you can't ever start the fight with Q. And the reason that's bad, and then what happens is that the only way you can take trades is if you can take those non-committal E-poke trades. Now, you can optimize this by baiting out abilities first, then creating windows, or walking past the wave like this to like make her miss CS. And then, yeah, like I said, doing like a bit of a shimmy here, walking forwards, baiting it out, then walking back around, or faking stuff to bait out the queue in order to create a window. But mainly, you're just going to be going for non-committal E-poke trades. And that's okay, small wins.
yeah. See, that's it. This is interesting because I think the hypothesis about non-committal trades was in my head before the lane, and I think it's partly taken from matchups with Oriana. Sorry, not Oriana, with Anivia. Like that's how I decided I should play against her because if I walk in too close when she has Q, I'm dead. So like it's kind of like almost like a pattern where like a certain kind of matchup where I cannot walk into them first. But like again, why did I still walk in? But maybe you're right. Maybe it is like just not ingrained enough
Yeah, that's
into
it.
the back of my head.
That's it, man. You haven't been punished enough in this matchup to know what you can or can't do. That's it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the same thing with Anivia. Like I got smacked a few times for making stupid moves, and like I stopped making them now.
Yeah, exactly. And now you know. This is why the matchup and then you could actually write this in your matchup spreadsheet and be like, okay, non-committal trades unless tethering, whatever it is. You can if you want to simplify it in dot points. That's great. So I mean, this sort of thing's good because you're gonna start to verse better and better opponents who actually give you an accurate representation of how the matchup should be played out, and that's how matchup trading patterns are formed. By the way, I don't just pull this out of my ass and be like, this is what the Bible says. This is what Riot gave me, this handbook, this little manual, and this is how Victor versus Orianna should be played. No, I just figured this out because I verse very good Oriannas, or I've played Orianna and I know how to play it based off my experiences in practical, pragmatic fashion. And you're going to find your own little unique tips as well. When I talk about the faking to bait out abilities, that's just because, it's like a little creative solution to a problem of being outranged. I have to figure out the solution, or little ways to create windows. Understanding matchups in itself is like a mini game. Every matchup is a mini game in itself. And there's the core fundamentals, but then there's miniature ways you can create extra windows, like little secrets in a way that can make things easier for you, whether it's a way to manage the wave or it's a way to move or whatever it is. Now, this Orianna has probably maybe even watched my guide, because the way she's using her ultimate is very good. I like the way she's just using her ultimate for chunk in the lane. Generally, I like to do this sometimes just to get a really good chunk and then walk out. But then she walks back and gets hit by the full combo here, so she actually mitigates her good damage done. But generally, that is a very effective strategy as Orianna. And then she sort of throws the ball from behind. So, look, I think you did the right thing, is walk forward when she didn't have cooldowns to even out the trade, but that could have easily been a pretty poor trade. And I don't really think there's much you can do about this. I mean, the only thing you can do is, here, you got to react. She walks up and you kind of just stand still.
Yep.
So you kind of just stand still here in a way. So that's what I've noticed with you, man. I think that we really need to increase your movement's just too sloppy. It's there's no faking, there's no jittery movements, there's no forming, there's no alternating dodging patterns, there's no too linear, slow. Because remember, look, this is why I love using the MMA analogy. I love doing it because that sport is all about threat. It's all about perceived threat. Now, you're a very analytical guy, right? Your nature, your being. You're a very logical, analytical guy. So in your mind, it's like, okay, I can't trade or I can trade. And that's what your natural response is going to be. But the next level to that is, okay, this guy, you got to understand that this guy doesn't know what you know. He doesn't know what you do or don't want to do. In your mind, you might not want to trade here, but you got to mix up your movements or pretend as if you got to mask your intentions. You can't make your intentions very, very obvious. You got to make this guy guessing all the time. The more you can make this guy guess, the better. Because then you're overloading his brain with extra information, so he can't just do his game plan very easily. Does that kind of make sense?
I think it does, and I think it's something that is somewhat natural to me, to develop as a habit. I think the problem is in this game, my brain was a little bit overloaded, and that's what I find. I still have to put a little bit of focus into my matchups, into my laning, into my movement, and when I want to focus on thinking about something else, I think in this game I was still thinking about the resets and stuff. It takes a little bit away from my ability to just focus on my champion and movements. You're completely right that I was just standing there still. I think that normally if I'm focused on my lane, I wouldn't be. But at this point, there's just so much for me in League to figure out that I have to selectively drop some things from my brain. And sometimes this kind of thing happens.
I'm going to do a personal review and upload it onto the Midnight Academy. I've got a game that I played yesterday. It's Orianna versus Akali. I think it will really exemplify the beauty of movements, because I just out micro a guy. I just win because I'm just better mechanically. And I want to show you the specifics and the micro about my movement that I was so in his head. He couldn't land a single Q onto me.
I actually remember, I watched, I think, your micro video, and for some time, I think it was a certain number of games, I was okay, let's try these things out. Let's try tethering, staying on the edge of their range, and it worked beautifully and amazingly. But it takes a lot of just resources from my brain. And that's my problem with focusing on that. There was a period of time when I thought to myself, I'm gonna focus on my micro and all that, but then I realized I need to focus on my jungle tracking and
Right.
this and that, and
too much.
like I don't know, like I guess it takes time to get it so much to the into the back of your head that you do all these like micro tethering things like without taking the time. Like I completely see your point about the importance of that, and it could change this matchup a lot. Like 100% would have
It
been a different
does.
game.
It does, man. So look, I think from what I'm seeing so far, look, you've got the understanding. It's more about putting it into practice. All these little things. I mean, dude, from the last one I sent you, this night and day. Like your wave management is exceptional. Your warding and your leaning is great. Your assessment of like you're going to fights, you're seeing things happen. You have a hypothesis about your lane strategy. Everything's going really really good. Now it's about, I think right now you're at the level on that on that cusp of going from Platinum 1 to D4. It's about tightening up these little, I mean, first of all, your matchup understanding. And hopefully I made that quite obvious in this specific matchup. But you got to continue this process for every other matchup. And that's what you could use the Discord for and the community and these reviews. But also, I want you to level up your micro. I think it's time, dude. I think you have, and just your movement overall. I think because right now you've got the knowledge of the basics, you've got the fundamentals down pat. Simultaneously, while you're starting to get a good read on the matchups, I think leveling up your micro is going to be the next level. Your movements are just too linear. And then here, I'm assuming, yeah, we don't lean. I mean, we don't lean, we don't ward here. We have to have a lapse in our leaning and warding, and then we end up.
Oh yeah, this when I reviewed, like I realized this was like just a complete lapse of judgment. Like
Yeah.
I woke up when like there's two people around me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like one of the cases where I know, like you're completely right.
Yeah.
It was not supposed to have happened, but I think the problem is like I already died 3 times and I was like
Checked out
thinking
of it.
about the past a little bit too
Yeah.
much.
So I think right now you're just checked out. There's no really point saying it from this point onwards. The game, yeah. Once you die 4 times with Victor like this,
Yeah,
you're
but
done.
like I'm still trying my best to win, but like
Of
it's just
course.
becoming so difficult on my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, I think this is a really good VOD to highlight a few things. And so what I would recommend, just as a little bit of homework now, so start that matchup spreadsheet, really start to get into the specifics about how you need to use your abilities in a given matchup and waves. So abilities and wave states. What will help you with this is also my article that I just recently wrote on the Midland Academy. I'll check that out. And then I would also, I think it's time to really level up your micro, dude. So I want you to get very specific about timing your ease, and just overall movement. I want you to fake more. I want you to change up, alternate your dodging patterns. I want you to aggressively posture to bait out ability and trust your movement. It's going to be a bit of a slog. It's going to be hard. Something that can really help you with this is you need to do 1v1s, man. You're at the level where you need to do 1v1s. You will get more value from 1v1s right now than doing solo queue. I guarantee you, actually. So I want you to go to the 1v1 matchup channel, find someone on your server that plays at the same time, maybe some matchups you want to practice, and get into the 1v1. Schedule a set of 1v1s once every 2 days. There's heaps of people on the server that would love to do 1v1s. You're at the level where you really got to get into it, man. This is going to allow you to refine your micro, and this is going to allow you to refine your matchup understanding. It's the perfect exercise for you. Perfect.
I see. It should be quite fun because, like, playing around micro is something I generally like doing in games or like just like pure skill and mechanics. So looking forward to that.
So this is where I want you to direct a lot of your attention, and then I'll try and get this personal review done. Hopefully, if I get enough time today to get that done. Mario versus Kali, but in the meantime, just read that article for now, right, man? And get doing some 1v1s.
Good.
Good session, man. Hopefully, this puts you on the right path and keep me updated, right, man?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much every review so far changed my view of the game for the better, bit by bit, and I think this one will do the same.
Brilliant. Awesome to hear, dude. Hey everyone, and welcome to another personal review. Now today I'm going to be covering a game that I played yesterday, a high elo game as Orianna versus Akali, and a lot of people struggle with this matchup, but the main focal point of this specific personal review is going to be highlighting the importance of having good quality micro. This is a matchup that is extremely reliant on having good quality tethering, and I think that this VOD specifically exemplifies what advantages that you can actually accrue through being very detail oriented with your movement. So I'm basically going to go over the entire early game, and then also how I kind of lock down this Akali, don't really prevent him from getting any solo kills onto me, and just absolutely dominating him in the early laning phase. So I am versing a Nocturne jungle, so I knew there wasn't much early gank threat, but I also had a Kayn, which means I don't really have much early gank threat onto the Akali. So I knew this was largely just going to be an isolated 1v1. This Akali did take fleet. Most Akalis do take fleet because they get the value from the movement speed in order to close the gap and land that Q. But she did take Ignite, which actually is a very good summoner spell choice into Orianna specifically, because post 6 there is a ridiculous amount of kill threat onto me, and we're going to talk about that later on when we get to level 6 onwards. Now, one thing you are going to see is already here from level 1, I'm doing an incredibly good job of tethering the Akali. I know what she wants to do. I'm doing fadeaway Qs. I'm peeling back into my minions. I'm trying to get auto attacks onto her if she walks too close. Then I see her walk too close past my minion wave, so I just decide to attack her anyway and let her use the Q onto me, knowing that she would get minion aggro, so I won the trade anyway. And now look at my movement here, guys. I really want you to be paying attention to detail here. If I go back, look at my wiggling here. Look at how I'm going back and forth. I'm waiting for Akali to walk up, misstep, or time her abilities with last hitting these creeps here, because I know they're all very low. So I'm going in and out like that, and as soon as she walks up to Q, I'm there to Q her face immediately. So I'm focused a lot on really abusing my range advantage, abusing the fact that I can do fadeaway Qs and actually use my abilities while moving. And notice here, straight away, I know exactly what she's trying to do. She's trying to walk up and go for high value Qs onto me as well as wave. Look at that. And just peel back. Beautiful. Constantly keeping an eye on Akali's movements like this. Peel back. She uses a W to close the gap, but that's not a very high value trade for her, so I don't care whatsoever. She does a good job of thinning the wave, but it doesn't really matter because now I know her shroud is down. Fade away, QW again. And I could have done a better job at CSing this game as well, but I think, you know, that's something I'm working on, as well as the tethering, because it can be a bit overwhelming at times. But look at this again. Every single time I'm holding my ball out, I'm keeping my range. If she gets up into the range, I'm going to Q. I'm rationing out my mana, and I didn't actually use my QW that one. And my premise a lot of the time when playing these matchups is that I do QQQ, then QW, or QQ, QW. I don't do QW every single time because I know that I'll run way too fast. And notice I'm just slow building the wave in. I'm not rushing. I missed my first Q of the lane here. I peel back with my E, tethering incredibly fit. Look at that beautiful tethering by me. I walk back. I walk back here, knowing what she's going to do. I throw it back again, get another little auto. Just weaving and constantly abusing my range, getting good quality QWs. Now, what this Akali should be doing is trying to bait out my Q. What she should be doing is kind of walking up aggressively, but faking it, baiting out my Q, then looping around and trying to go on for me. Or she should be trying to walk up in like creative ways and she's trying. I can tell what if you actually look at her movements very specifically all the way back here, she is trying, but it's just not good enough. This is the difference. This is the micro difference that I'm talking about. This is why quality of clicking and attention to detail is so important, because this is what allows a good Orianna player to just dominate lanes. It's small wins. I hit my skill shot, you don't hit your skill shot, and then I get complete lane control. I abuse my strong auto attacks. I get a nice little good quality ward out of top side right now, which was end up being a waste because Nocturne was top. And I continued to slow build this in because I wanted to ward out before the wave crash because I did want to abuse this Akali under tower here. Beautiful. Another QW, another auto attack. Now my CS difference isn't as big as it could have been. I just happened to miss a lot of CS, but I think I've done a pretty good job here anyway. So get a few auto attacks in, another Q. Trying to make her make a choice between the wave. I'm really 2 CS up, but remember, I'm the one with TP and she doesn't have TP. Now look at this, guys. Notice how I do not touch this next wave. I don't want to keep mindlessly shoving in the Akali. I want the wave to come out, because if the wave comes out over here, I can either choose to hold it on my side, milk it and juice my TP, then TP back with a massive resource advantage or favorable wave state. Or I can bring it back into the middle and then begin my slow build. I can't build my slow build if it's this far deep in the lane. So notice I don't touch the wave. Just relax. And I can see Akali's here trying to get me to Q the wave, but I don't. I just hold tight, sit tight. I wait for the wave to actually build into me before I start using my abilities. Look at this. I don't even queue. Just chill. Auto attack, auto attack. Yes, I'm going to be... And this is the definition of short-term loss for long-term gain. A lot of people don't have the discipline to be able to make this decision. They just don't. They're like, oh, yeah, Carlos, I have to go. But no, I understand that this will benefit me in the long run. You must understand the strengths of wave states. So I just chill. Hold, hold, hold. Still not queuing, still not queuing. I still have one corrupting pot as well. And then he goes in because he uses the wave starting to build. And she uses her Q on the wave. I know I'm quite able to use my auto attacks and Qs through the wave there. And now again, notice how I just thin the wave a little bit. And I walk up to see if she's basing. And then I end up stopping a recall here. And look at that. Now the wave's just building into me right now. I see Nocturne on bot side. So I end up leaning back onto the top side. And this Akali is getting dominated. Because look at this. Now, her jungler has been forced to come in and help her get the wave out. That's a huge win for the rest of the map. Hey everyone, hey bot lane, hey top lane, everyone, Nocturne is here. You don't have to worry. My Kane's going to get tempo over the Nocturne. Brilliant. This is how I'm helping the whole team by just having really good solid laning. So the Nocturne tries to help the Akali get the wave out. I end up thinning the wave here as much as I can. Nocturne tries to get the wave in, but I end up just pulling it again. I probably didn't have to thin it as much as I did here, but I end up pulling the wave again, knowing that I still have TP. And I can deny Akali more CS by doing this. Now, I think I mess up this freeze a little bit. I could have done it a little bit better, and then I end up kind of messing it up. But still, regardless, I'm going to end up able to deny a bunch of CS from the Akali here. So now just be patient. Just last hit with auto attacks. And as soon as I get a feeling of when she's going to come back, and I'm pretty happy with the amount of gold that I have, I'm going to start my recall. I'm going to come back. So then when she arrives back into lane, I'm already there as well. So I can begin my slow build out towards the Akali and then get more poke. Beautiful. She comes back. I come back with my TP. I'm 10 CS up, but a lot of XP up. Now I have a significant XP advantage. And now I begin my slow build out. Because remember, slow building is the best for poke. And look what happens here. Now I can walk past the wave. And she's completely screwed. Notice how, again, notice my movements are really long and linear. Just look very specifically here, guys. When I walk up, I don't just walk up in QW. Notice how I shimmy. I'm trying to bait out abilities. I'm expecting her to maybe walk forwards or E forwards or throw an E at me or do something. But she doesn't. She's trying to play mind games with me. But notice how even I shimmy here. I walk back and forward. See her movements. Nothing happens. So I'm moving back and forth to try and bait something out. Then throw it out. It's very important you play these sorts of mind games, guys, because otherwise your movements are just going to be too linear. And then I walk forward. She uses Q in the wave, so I'm all good. I'm starting to get some serious poke down. And I use my ultimate here very aggressively because I know my Kane is in the area and I'm slow building a wave. And if someone heavy trades, or if you take a really good heavy trade here, as the wave is slow building into someone, they can't actually CS this under tower. They're just going to be too low. So I take a really good heavy trade onto the Akali here, knowing my jungler is in the area. And look at this. Now I can just dominate her under tower. Kane's in the area. I get another QW again. Now Nocturne actually comes to maybe defend the Akali. So I end up just backing up my jungler here. Ideally, Kane doesn't even come here. And it's just an island and isolated 1v1. Because then I'll just be able to deny Akali CS under tower. But, still, all's good. I still have 2 corrupting pots. I still have 2 biscuits here. I'm getting plenty of poke down onto the Akali. She has no refillable pots. I've already got a plate by myself. I've already denied her a bunch of XP. And now even if she dings 6, she can't kill me because she's too low. Now because I have a mass amount of priority and pressure, I'm able to attend every single river skirmish. Beautiful. Even though this isn't really my identity, it doesn't matter because I've taken such good trades in the lane. And this is exactly what I mean by small win, small win, small win, big win. What's the big win here, guys? A kill on the enemy jungler at 6 minutes. What were the small wins? The small wins is all these favorable trades, using your ultimate in a good position, building waves, good resets, good wards, backing up your jungler, and then before you know it, by doing all the good things, you get to these fights that the enemy mid laner is just not going to be able to get to. Really, really basic fundamentals here. I'm not doing anything overly sexy here, guys. And then I see the wave bouncing back out to me, so I insta-reset for my lost chapter. Akali comes back. I'm 47 CS to 35, but I'm very far ahead in XP. The wave is bouncing back to me now again. Now, this is where things got a little bit sketchy. Nocturne ends up going for a play onto the Kayn. Now, I try to back up my jungler, but Akali goes for an all-in onto me. And this is exactly what I mean. Even though this Akali's behind in items, she can still nearly 100 to 0 me because she's actually opted in for Ignite. So she used everything onto me right now. And I actually would have survived here, but Janna actually walked through the tower and used heal as well and ended up finishing me off here. So as a result, because they overextended and used all of their spells, I even type in chat, no sums. My team ends up cleaning up anyway. But look, I think that I did the right thing there. I don't really regret what I did. I wanted to back up my team. And I knew that if it was just me and Akali, she couldn't actually 100 to 0 me because she was actually so screwed on items. But yeah. Anyway, I come back. The wave crashes onto my tower. I actually missed quite a bit of CS, but it's not the end of the world. And I'm still, again, beginning my slow build, rinse, repeat. I was going to ward there, but I'm like, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. And notice how I'm posturing again above the wave, so Akali can't really get in range to thin it out. And she's forced to see us from a distance with her E. Thinning it, slow building it. Get my pink out onto one side. And I end up just trying to back up my jungler a little bit. And notice how I didn't use my ward on the ledge. I wanted to conserve my ward for the Raptor Pit itself. Because Raptor Pit wards versus any long-range engager like a Zac or Nocturne is very important. Now, instead of actually poking this guy under tower, I thought this would be a good opportunity to get some good quality wards. I knew Nocturne was bot side, so I pinged my bot lane back off. Because I knew they were probably going to get ganked. And they actually do end up getting ganked, so I'm a mind reader there. But it's pretty obvious, he's bot side, he's not going to come back top. Bot's overextended to free kill. I think I end up saving my AD carry, maybe they would have died there. But I end up getting a good quality ward here. Now, the purpose of this ward that I got there was to see what side of the map Nocturne is. At the end of the day, wards are a tool you use to get information, and I'm very specific about the information I want. I don't want to know where he is now. All I need to know is what side of the map he's on. If I know he's on top side, I can heavy lean to the bot, I'm going to be all good. If I know he's bot side, I can heavy lean onto top, I'm going to be all good. So it's more about knowing exactly what side of the map he's on rather than specifics. So now again, I come back into the lane, and this is where I've got to be quite careful. And my mindset in this moment is the following. I can't afford to heavy trade with this guy, trading blow for blow, because he has fleet. She has fleet. She has a lot of kill threat with R if I get low. So I must take trades where I'm losing basically 0 HP and I'm taking a portion of hers. So I'm very aware of the type of trade that I'm trying to bring about here. If this was a champion like another mage, I wouldn't care about taking damage. But I'm really trying to conserve my HP as much as possible because I am shit scared of Akali being able to 100 to 0 me. So I'm trying to maintain my HP as much as possible. I get a nice little W here. I get a nice little Q. And notice how I'm just not insta-shoving the wave as well because I know that I do not have flash. I'm trying to ensure that if I ever am pushing, my team's in the area or I have such a big resource advantage that it doesn't even matter. I get a nice little QW again. My jungler ends up getting the Rift Herald. Beautiful. End up continuing to slow build the wave in. I see where Nocturne is. And again, look at my range here. I was playing much more aggressively early on, wasn't I? Earlier on, I was getting up in their face. I was willing to take a little bit of damage. But no, I'm really keeping my range here. Because I know if Akali is able to start the fight with her R1, you know, I'm doomed. If she wants to all-in me now, what she's going to have to do is she's going to have to E backwards onto me and then start the fight with R. Then she doesn't have as much tools to stick onto me. And I know that she doesn't have Ignite as well, so I knew that she would have to have the flawless, actually like a flawless combo to kill me. Now here, because the wave is so big, I just wanted to play for control and I wanted to get her low enough so she can't all in me. So I end up using my ultimate very aggressively here. And again, trying to keep my range. And now I think to myself, she's actually too low to all in me. And look how I shift my trading. Look at that. I walk up and auto her and I hadn't warded her the entire time. And the only reason I did that is because I knew that she could not all in me because she was too low. And my other thought process here, I remember when I was thinking about ulting here, was that I saw that Aurelia was trading very aggressively and my jungler just got rift and he was making a play topside. I didn't want this Akali to be able to roam top. So I wanted to get her low enough that she was de-incentivized? Not whatever the word is. I guess less inclined to roam topside. So I end up getting a really, really low. I've nearly got the second plate here. A top 2v2 plays and ends up happening. I don't compensate. I don't go there. It's a 3v2 because Jana was there as well. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's not my identity to go to that fight. I'd rather just go for plates right now and make myself as strong as possible. Aurelia ends up smurfing, getting a kill. I think she ends up getting like a triple or a quadra kill. Akali ends up compensating, trying to go for the plate, even though she was too low, which was whatever. I end up getting 2 plates for myself. The third plate, end up resetting. Getting my boots. I TP back for control. And this is where, you know, the game gets absolutely out of control because Kane comes mid with the rift. I end up taking some pretty solid trades under tower here, knowing that Kane was going to come back me up. So I end up shoving. Kane ends up rifting. We've got a winning side through my Aurelia. And now the game is just absolutely out of control. I'm 100 CS by 12 minutes, which is meh. I missed too much in the early game, but, you know, I've got an entire mid tower. We've got all 5 plates. Akali's basically out of the game. I'm probably easily a level ahead. I actually end up buying a stopwatch here as well because I knew that I was using a Nocturne and Akali. So I tried to bait this Akali in right now, knowing that I have ultimate, knowing that I have stopwatch and everything. So I end up just stopwatching here. Flashing away, baiting in the Akali, then she dies again. And now the game is just getting absolutely out of control. End up keep shoving. And then I start to go to the side lane, get my blue buff, and then group it up. Group up for objectives. I don't want to come in from the side. I don't want to allow Nocturne to kill me in the side lane. I don't want to allow Akali to all in me. So I just group. I don't go for this wave. In other situations where I'm this far ahead and the jungler has no threat onto me, then sure, I will shove this out by myself, then move. But I can't afford to go for this because I truly believe with no sums, no stopwatch, Nocturne actually can still kill me because he actually has Prowler's Claw. So I decided, that was my hypothesis, decide to just not go for that. That's okay. Group up for the objectives like this and then play that way. They all end up going topside, so I shove deep bot. End up getting another tower, resetting, getting my Ludens. Pretty straightforward. End up soloing the Rift Herald for my team because I really want this Rift Herald. And then the game ends up just being a free when they end up FFing here. So, look guys, I think this is an amazing VOD to highlight the following. I think it's great to identify the importance of great micro and how micro ties directly into small wins. And especially with Orianna and a lot of these control mages. But understanding that good micro leads to small little trades and how these small trades accrue up and create big wins is a very important mindset to have. And I'd say this is also a very good example of beautiful wave management, matchup understanding. I would say it's also a great example of patience, threat assessment. My warding was on point. My hypotheses and my game plan tying into my matchup understanding was amazing. All of the fundamentals were here, guys. So if you want to, you know, I think if you're an Orianna player or a control mage player and you want to hold yourself to a high standard, even if you're a master tier player looking for what it takes to get to Grandmaster or Challenger or whatever, I think this is a really good VOD to exemplify this. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one and love to hear your comments in the Discord. Cheers.